Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. One of the reasons you love listening to me, James Parker, is because I bring you stories that are happening in your backyard that's not going to pop up on Fox News or CNN or any of these national outlets. You have to listen to some of your local outlets if you want to get the behind-the-scenes skinny on how some of your money is being wasted, or you're otherwise keeping an eye on the people in your own backyard. And so this popped up. Tarrant County Commissioner's Court had some sort of hearing, and a civil rights attorney here in Texas, he's based out of Temple, his name's CJ Grisham. He's listed as a First Amendment and a Second Amendment attorney, so not that kind of civil rights, this kind of civil rights. Not that it really needs to be delineated, but he tries to go in and he gets stopped because he's carrying a piece. Well, he's lawfully allowed to carry a piece in these meetings, but the law enforcement there right outside the door, they goofed up. They made a mistake. We'll just say it was an honest mistake, and they withheld him from going to that meeting, and they were wrong to do so. So then he goes back and goes to the meeting. The next time he shows up, they stop him because he drops an F-bomb, and it really seems like a light and transient reason to kick a guy out. But I was playing you that audio yesterday.
I came here last time because my good friend Mason Yancey was murdered in the jail. All right, that's why I meant to come here. But you didn't hear from me. The reason you didn't hear from me is because the thugs you have outside the door there assaulted me, threw me in handcuffs for no reason whatsoever, and tried to arrest me. Thankfully, Sheriff Wayborn thought the better of valor and listened to me when I told him to read the law. Now,
remove him immediately for that comment. Get him out of here.
All right, so he gets removed, even though he's probably in the right again. It happens once. Okay, I'll give him a shadow of a doubt, a little consideration, benefit of the doubt, I mean to say. Happens twice. Now something's going on. So CJ Grisham is on the James Show now, the guy you just heard, getting kicked out of the meeting. What are they trying to hide so bad, CJ? What do they not want you to tell the outside world?
I think, and thanks for having me on, Mr. Parker. I think what they're trying to hide is the fact that they continue to pass these unconstitutional so-called rules of decorum. And what drives me nuts is you've got a bunch of individuals who are upset at what started as frustration with all the jail deaths. You've got families who have lost loved ones. You've got people like me who have lost good friends. And, we're just trying to go there and express our grievances, and we just keep getting shut down. I mean, he keeps kicking people out because he doesn't like the tone of their speech. He doesn't like
who is he?
They speak. It's the county judge.
Can you say his name, or is that
County Judge Tim O'Hare. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just saying we don't know this information. I'm having a hard time finding details on what led up to all this.
Yeah, and what led up to it that day, when I went up there, I was already angry because the second time, the first time I went there, I got put in handcuffs, and I was held for so long that I wasn't even able to speak, and so I ended up just leaving.
Which is shady, but if it happens once, like I said, benefit of the doubt. Happens twice, they find some trifling excuse to shut you up. Now, you must be over the target.
That's what my grandfather always told me when you're taking that flack. And so I went in there. I don't intend, while I protect and I believe that people have the right to use profanity in these types of settings, I don't endorse it. It's not something that people should be doing. It'd be professional. If you want people to listen to you, you got to do it in a professional way. But I wasn't up there calling people names. I wasn't up there shouting profanities. I was literally quoting exactly what I had told the sheriff. But I was frustrated because this is my second time going up to Tarrant County. And it's the second time that Tarrant County Sheriff's deputies, because I was lawfully carrying a gun, assaulted me. And this time even more violently. So that day I was already frustrated and angry because of what they had done outside the chamber doors a second time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so whatever you were going to say in that meeting, say it now. I want to hear about your friend that died in the jail. What was his name, Yancey? I want to hear the story.
Yeah, so Mason Yancey helped me back when I started Open Carry Texas back in 2013 as a Second Amendment activist. He ran...
Wait. You started Open Carry Texas?
I did, yes, sir.
Oh, well, a round of applause for CJ. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, CJ actually gets 7 points for that. That's a whole touchdown.
All right.
You're on the board, CJ. All right, go ahead.
Actually, can I cash him in for like a Tootsie Roll or something?
No, it's not worth anything but bragging rights.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, when I found out that he was killed in the jail, I mean, here's a guy who demands government accountability and who defends our rights, and he ends up in jail, and then he ends up dead. And there were just so many questions. And because I'm an attorney and I've represented people in that jail and I've seen and heard things, I knew that our county judge and the county commissioners and the sheriff himself were being lied to by groups like JPS about what's happening in the jails. JPS is not taking care of inmates who have medical conditions. The jailers are not taking care of inmates who have medical conditions. And so my desire was to let them know that, first of all, we need to cancel this contract with JPS because it's my belief, based on my personal experience with clients there, that JPS is actually causing some of these through inaction, and if not inaction, through withholding medications from people like one of my clients who's a heart patient. He's supposed to be getting a heart transplant, and they're not giving him his heart medications, but yet they're telling the county judge and the administrators, oh, no, we're giving them their medications, but there's no reason for my client to lie to me. And I see his face. I know what he looked like when he went in there, and I know what he looks like now. And a person who's getting their medications, who has a heart condition, doesn't have jaundiced skin, doesn't have sunken in eyes, and wouldn't lie to an attorney about the fact that he only got one pill as opposed to the 10 he's supposed to be getting on a regular basis. That's all I wanted to talk about. We need to end the JPS contract. We need to hold them accountable. We need to investigate JPS and find out why are all these people dying of medical conditions in jail.
Well, and Mason Yancey was young. According to the Star Telegram, 31 years old.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to be fully disclosed. I mean, he did have some drug issues, which is why he was in there. He's not in there for any violent crimes. He had problems with drugs and alcohol, but part of that also had to do with his other medical conditions that sort of led him that way. So he was in there for drug paraphernalia, but he also was a diabetic. And based on what information I have, is he was going actually through a diabetic going into diabetic shock. And they just sat around and didn't do anything. They didn't try to even diagnose him or give him his medication.
And there was another story that we talked to the lawyer of the family of Anthony Johnson Jr., who died in custody at the Tarrant County Jail. He was a schizophrenic who was denied his schizophrenia medication, had an episode, and during the restraint process, but he passed away. And so this just seems like other jails work this out, right? If you go to jail, they still let you have your pills that keep you alive, or people would be dropping dead every day. What's really going on, CJ? What do we not know? Because something doesn't sound right.
Well, that's what we're going to have to get to, and that's what so many people are trying to get to. This is a cause that has united the right and the left. It's kind of weird. Here I am. I'm a pretty right-wing guy, and yet I seem to be aligning more with Simmons on many of these issues about jail deaths than I do, for example, Mr. Krause. So I don't understand why anyone would not want to look into this and figure out what's going on. And I don't fault the county commissioners court. They don't directly lead that stuff, but they should be looking into it. I don't fault the sheriff, because I think the sheriff is being lied to. And you know how it is when there's a senior person that shows up, everybody starts the dog and pony show. Everything's perfect when the big dog is around.
No, Wayborn gets credit because I was raising a fuss on it, and we reached out to him to come on, and he did. And the reason why that's so profound is most people don't.
Right, and I'll even be honest and say that when I had an issue with one of my clients at the jail, I called Wayborn directly, and he fixed it for me. So I don't have any problems with Mr. Wayborn.
Yeah, CJ, we're out of time. Anything people can do to support you or find your work outside of WBAP?
CJGrisham.com, ISueBadCops.com. That's my website, but I'm just an activist that tries to do what's right.
Love it. Well, we might have to have you on again, especially if you have any other good stories or get kicked out of court again. Let me know, okay, CJ?
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right, appreciate it. I don't know if you're like listening online or listening on the app or what commercials you just heard, but me and Garrett both looked at each other in that commercial break. We just learned that Brian Kilmeade's coming back to town. He's on our sister station, KLIF, 570 AM. Check out Clayton and Sybil in the morning. But when he was here last summer, that was really cool. Like Brian Kilmeade just got added to our sister station's lineup sometime last year. And so he came to town to sort of introduce himself and draw a little publicity. And he ended up telling a bunch of really cool stories. And Brian Kilmeade, you probably don't know this, started out as a sports guy early in his career, and you probably don't want to work in sports your entire career. Like as you get older, I've noticed like every year I get older, sports become just less and less important to me. Like when you're like 14 years old, a 14-year-old boy in the middle of nowhere, that's the coolest thing ever, like Troy Aikman rules. But now these people that are playing in the Super Bowl, I could be their dad, half of them. So I don't know if that's it or whatever, but still. He's a guy who started out in sports. And so there were a couple questions where he kind of had to delve off into the sports arena. And it was really cool to see how good he was at that, because he's a guy that you're used to seeing or hearing on Fox and Friends, or if you listen to his morning show, talking about serious issues and talking about political stuff and talking about war and talking about Israel and Gaza. And this guy can really break it down for you. Just if you want to have an in-depth, deep dive on slot receivers, Edelman, Welker, we'll give you the whole rundown here. But it's just funny to see people change gears like that in ways that you're not used to, right? What if you saw like we're all big fans of Dirk Nowitzki. What if you found out he could crochet an Afghan? You're like, what? That's awesome. I didn't know you could do that. That's so cool. So yeah, apparently Brian Kilmeade's coming back to town February 26th. Communitybeer.com is the website for the place where they're going to be. Commonwealth and 35. I know you've seen that exit 1,000 times. If you can't picture it where it's at when you're coming out of downtown on 35, it's before you get to the split. You know how 35 and 183 and Mockingbird are all kind of in that little triangle. It's like one or two exits before that. It'll be on your left. And I tell you what, I'll be there. I want to go again. I just want to see his little secret stories. And plus, now that Trump won and so much is going on, whenever you have the chance to talk off the cuff in front of a crowd, even though, we'll keep it decent and stuff, every once in a while you might hear like a little cuss word or something. And that's, I don't know why that always makes me giggle when you see someone who you've never heard say a cuss word before. Whenever you hear one of those bombs come out, I don't know why, but that cracks me up. It might crack you up too. But I'm going. I think Garrett wants to go. You going to that, Garrett? Garrett wants to go too. So I know. Brian Kilmeade's going to be the big draw, but I'll be there too. And probably we'll see if we can lean on Clayton and Sybil and all them to show up. So that sounds like a good time. I'll remind you before it comes on. We'll try and have Brian Kilmeade on the James Show here to promote it. And I'll give you a couple reminders the day before and the day of on that. For the next story, though, there's the governor of New Jersey who is on some stage at some convention talking to bunch of other geniuses, I'm sure, bragging about how he's harboring an illegal alien, bragging about it.
Into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to.
You mean illegal?
And we said, you know what? Let's have her live at our house above our garage.
Who, the illegal?
And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Oh, good luck to the feds, huh? Oh, is that how that works? You're committing a felony, harboring a known illegal, and I dare the feds to come get you. All right. Well, look, I mean, that might have been something fancy you could say up until about January 20th, but I'm not so sure the current regime's going to think that's real cute. So he said that. We all saw it yesterday floating around our social media feeds. Yesterday, your border czar, Tom Homan, was on the Sean Hannity show on Fox News and was asked about this statement. Oh, really? Well, I thought you said you're not going to have any tolerance for public officials breaking the law. Homan stood his ground. Check it out.
What will happen? What will ICE do to the politicians, the advocacy groups, the cities and states that have sanctuary status that are aiding and abetting in the law breaking? What will you do to those people that are openly not just opposing, but helping those people that broke the law and didn't respect our borders and sovereignty?
If they openly impede us, that's a violation of federal law. It's a felony. If they knowingly harbor and conceal an alien, that's a felony. we will seek prosecution through the U.S. Attorney's Office. We got a great U.S. Attorney coming in, Pam Bondi. She's all in. So we're going to seek prosecution, Sean. That's what we have to do because they're releasing public safety threats back in the community. Any sanctuary city, any elected mayor, city councilman, a governor who thinks it's a good idea to release public safety threats back in the community to reoffend, it's just ridiculous. We're going to hold them accountable. The Trump administration will hold them accountable to prosecution.
Go get him. Go get him. Tom, he's right up there. You know where the governor's mansion in New Jersey is? Somewhere in Trenton. I'm sure you can Google it real quick. Your phone probably knows Tom Homan. Just say, hey, Siri, give me directions to the governor's mansion of New Jersey and go pick him up. I want to see that. And I want to see y'all start backing up paddy wagons to all these ICE protests. Hey, let me see your ID. Let me run it through this database. Get in the truck. Just get in the truck. You get in the truck. Hey, you with the Mexico flag. Well, are you just profiling me because of the color of my skin? No, you're literally flying a Mexico flag at the anti-deportation protest, and you got a really thick accent there. You're just begging to go back. It sounds like you like to play. I'm just giving you a free ride. Is all I'm doing. But Homan, don't just run your mouth. Go pick up Governor Murphy, make an example out of him, and we'll talk about that on the James Show. In fact, it'll be a party on the James Show. It'll just be like this. How many more governors want to defy immigration laws? How many more sanctuary city mayors want to defy immigration law? Denver? Didn't you speak up last month? Weren't you running your mouth? What about you, Chicago? Weren't you just running your mouth? Weren't you saying, come get me, we're not going to... Put him in jail. We'll have a little party. We'll come up with the wall of shame. I thought political prisoners were cool now. I thought it was cool to start throwing your political opponents in jail for the slight and transient breaking of crimes here. That's the precedent that they set with all the J6ers, didn't they? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. The question being, is Tom Homan going to have to arrest the governor? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So some industries still haven't recovered from the pandemic. And the pandemic, I know it feels like it was forever ago, but we really just got out of all the lockdowns and stuff. You know, here in Texas, maybe you could say that was 4 years ago, not even quite 4 years ago, because I remember good old Judge Jenkins reinstated the mask mandate. So 3.5 years, tops. If you were in one of these other more blue areas, maybe you're just a couple, three, maybe 2 years out of the pandemic. But some industries haven't bounced all the way back. Brenda Seary's back on the James Show. What are we talking about here? If I try and guess off the top of my head, I would bet the movie industry hasn't quite recovered. But aside from a few exceptions like that, I'm surprised to hear that not everyone has.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think that companies who are not hiring right now, it's not necessarily because they don't want to invest in the economy, but that right now people want to kind of sit back and see what our new administration, those policies, how are they going to affect the economy? And so they're being a little cautious and slowing down hiring right now in the beginning of, the first quarter of the year. I think that everyone's going to be watching to see if things get better before they start ramping up hiring. But you've got a little bit of a piggyback issue in that, you had people who were laid off during the pandemic and they took jobs that maybe didn't give them 100% satisfaction. But right now they're afraid to leave those jobs and go look for something that's their ideal job because they don't know what the economy is going to do. So you've got less job openings right now because less people are leaving jobs.
Well, is there anything surprising in the numbers? Like, I'm not surprised that jobs for like people in radio has decreased because it's a contracting business. Our audience is getting smaller as far as the share of the pie for advertising. But is there anything that would shock me that has gotten smaller since the pandemic and not returned?
I think technology is probably one of the areas that's been greatly affected, and that does kind of surprise me because technology is, something that we all use every day, right?
Yeah, I definitely use technology every day. Well, okay, the obvious one, like I started with the movie theater stuff, and I try and think of an analog. Is there Is there other public events where you have to run around in close proximity with other people? I guess maybe sporting events and concerts at large. Is there still a depression in industries like that require large gatherings of people in public?
Yeah, restaurants, hotels, they have a lot of in-person interactions, and they've really been hit hard because a lot of people resigned from those jobs during the pandemic and haven't wanted to get back into that, I think it's a lot of your Gen Zers and your millennials more that walked away from jobs like that and said, you know what, we can find something else that we can do, or we can work from home, and they've gotten into different industries altogether. So those are some of the really hardest hit industries.
Well, if the job market is a little stiffer, what advice would you give to people who are looking for a new job?
Well, let me tell you this. I was thinking about this before I talked with you today, and I am talking to a lot of people right now that are looking for jobs because they worked for companies that said, we're all going home, we're all working remote. And what are we seeing happen right now? We're seeing companies say, come back. I just read that Toyota just recently told all of their employees you have to report back to the office. I interviewed someone the other day who lives in Houston, but she works for one of the large banking institutions that the office she worked in is based here in the Dallas area, and they've told her she has to come back to the office. And she said, I either have to move or I have to find a new job now that I'm here in Houston. So I do think that you will see some more openings in industries where you have people who moved away and don't want to move back and don't want to go back into the office. But my biggest advice to people is be patient and understand that there are a lot of people looking for jobs, and you may or may not even hear from a company for several months, even after you apply for a job. It's a really, really tough time right now.
All right, we got 1 minute left, but I want to squeeze in another question here. Explain this one to me, Brenda Siri. The unemployment rate, generally speaking, is about 4% for most people. For those recent college graduates, it's 5.3%. How is it higher for recent college graduates than the average worker?
Because there is a lot of lack of confidence in hiring managers to want to hire people right out of college. They have a fear that they don't have enough business experience and couldn't just come in and hit the ground running. And because of that lack of confidence in the capabilities of recent college graduates, they're having a harder time finding jobs.
Tell them where to find your work at Corporate Connections.
Our website is corporateconnectionsllc.com, and we are on LinkedIn, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Brenda Siri.
All right. Thank you very much, Brenda Siri. Those were some strange numbers, and you helped make a little bit of sense of them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
All right. Your thoughts, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. What happens when you have a governor of a state bragging about harboring illegal immigrants, and your border czar says he'll happily arrest public officials who are harboring illegal immigrants? Are we about to see a governor get arrested? I'll tell you who's on the hot seat next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.